The bouncer's hand is on Mike Tyson's shoulder. 3 seconds from now this bouncer won't have a job. But right now he doesn't know who he's just grabbed. He doesn't know that the hand clenching that shoulder is about to learn the difference between authority and power. He doesn't know that this moment will become a story told in every nightclub in Manhattan for the next 30 years. All he knows is that some short guy in a leather jacket is walking into the VIP without permission, and it's about to be a problem. The club is packed. Manhattan, early 90s. The kind of place where athletes, rappers and models mix under strobe lights and expensive bottle service. Mike is here with friends from the gym, just trying to have a drink, relax and forget about training for a few hours. He's the heavyweight champion of the world, but tonight he just wants to be invisible for a minute, to be normal. No one is asking for autographs yet. No one is crowding him. It's perfect. Then he goes to the bathroom. When he comes back up, the bouncer is new. The shift change happened while Mike was away. This guy is big, 6'4", 260 pounds, a former college football player. He thinks size equals control. He thinks his security shirt gives him power over everyone in this building. He sees Mike approaching the VIP section. He sees a short guy he doesn't recognize. No pass visible. No entourage. Just walking like he owns the place. The bouncer doesn't like that. He doesn't like people who don't show the proper respect for his authority. So he grabs Mike's shoulder hard, fingers digging in. Mike stops, freezing completely. The music is still pounding. People are still dancing, but something just shifted in the air. Something dangerous. The bouncer leans down. Where do you think you're going? VIP is for VIPs only. You need a pass. His voice is loud, aggressive. The voice of someone who is used to people backing down when he gets physical. Mike turns his head slowly. He looks up at this man who is holding his shoulder like he owns it. He doesn't say anything. He just looks. Here is what the bouncer doesn't understand yet. Mike Tyson grew up in Brownsville, the neighborhood where you learn a rule before you learn anything else. The moment someone puts their hands on you without permission, you have 3 choices: submit and be a victim forever, overreact and go to jail, or respond with exactly enough force to make sure it never happens again without crossing into territory you can't come back from. Mike learned that rule at 13, and he's been applying it for 11 years. The bouncer is about to get a demonstration, but there's something else happening that the bouncer doesn't see. Other security staff across the VIP section have stopped moving. They've stopped talking. They recognize Mike. They see what's happening. They know this is about to go very wrong very fast, and they're trying to figure out how to intervene before it does. One of them is already moving toward them, but he's 20 feet away and 3 seconds isn't a lot of time. Mike's left hand goes up. Casual, almost lazy. It wraps around the bouncer's wrist, the wrist attached to the hand holding his shoulder. The bouncer feels it and tries to pull his arm back. It doesn't move. It doesn't budge an inch. That's when the first flicker of confusion crosses his face. This short guy's grip feels like industrial machinery. The bouncer pulls harder. Nothing. Mike's fingers might as well be welded to his wrist. Then Mike moves. One movement. Fluid. Practiced. He pivots his body and pulls the bouncer's arm down and forward. 260 pounds of muscle suddenly discovers that leverage doesn't care about weight. The bouncer's balance breaks. His body follows his arm, whether he wants it to or not. He stumbles forward, buckling at the waist, and his face suddenly drops from being towering above Mike to being right at eye level. Mike's right hand is already in position. The open palm places itself flat against the center of the bouncer's chest and pushes. Not a punch, not a strike, just a push. Firm, decisive, final. The bouncer goes backward. His feet scramble, trying to stay under him, but momentum has other plans. 3 steps back. 4. His shoulders hit the wall behind him. The impact is solid, not violent, but absolutely conclusive. Photos rattle in their frames. The bouncer stands there with his back against the wall, breathing hard, eyes wide. Everything he thought he knew about this situation has inverted in the last 3 seconds. The short guy he thought he was controlling just moved him like he was made of air. The music hasn't stopped. The crowd is still dancing, but every single person in the VIP section has turned to look. They saw it. They saw this massive bouncer get handled without Mike even looking aggressive. Just calm, just controlled, just absolute. More security arrives now. 2 more bouncers, and the floor manager. They come running, ready to throw out whoever is causing trouble. Then they see who it is. They see Mike Tyson standing there, composed and still. They see their co-worker against the wall looking like he just discovered gravity works differently than he thought. Recognition spreads through them like cold water. The floor manager's name is Tony. He's worked here 8 years, he knows every VIP that matters. He definitely knows Mike Tyson. His face goes white. He steps forward fast. "Mr. Tyson, I am so deeply sorry. This is new staff. He didn't recognize you. This will never happen again. I apologize." Mike doesn't say anything, he just looks at the bouncer who is still against the wall, processing what just happened. Processing that he grabbed Mike Tyson, that he tried to physically control Mike Tyson, that he thought his size and his security shirt made him powerful and just learned the opposite in 3 seconds. Tony turns to the bouncer. His voice is sharp, cold. "Apologize now." The bouncer peels himself off the wall, stands up trying to regain some dignity, but it's gone. His voice comes out shaky. "I'm sorry, Mr. Tyson. I didn't know who you were. I was just doing my job." Mike speaks for the first time since this started. His voice is low, calm, almost gentle. "You put your hands on someone you didn't know, without asking, without reason. That's not doing your job. That's ego. There's a difference." The bouncer has no answer. He just nods. He looks at the floor. Tony makes a decision right there. "You downstairs to the office. Now, we're going to talk about your future here." The bouncer doesn't argue. He doesn't protest. He just walks past Mike with his head down and disappears down the stairs. Tony turns back to Mike. "Please, let me comp your entire section tonight. Anything you want, it's on the house." Mike shakes his head. "I already paid. I'm good. I just want to finish my drink." Tony nods. "Certainly. Whatever you need." He leaves. Mike walks back to his booth and sits down. His friends are staring at him. One of them laughs. "You didn't even hit him." Mike picks up his drink. He takes a sip. "Didn't need to." His friend nods slowly. "Yeah, but you could have." Mike sets the glass down. "That's the point. Showing someone what you could do without doing it teaches more than actually doing it." They sit in silence for a moment. Music pounding, lights flashing like nothing happened. But something did happen. Something that will ripple out from this moment in ways no one in this club can predict yet. 30 minutes later, Tony comes back. He approaches the table cautiously. "Mr. Tyson, I wanted to let you know that we've terminated Derek's employment. He's no longer with us." Mike looks up. "You didn't have to fire him." Tony shakes his head. "Yes, I did. He violated our most basic protocol. He put hands on a guest without cause. That's immediate termination regardless of who the guest is. The fact that it was you makes it unforgivable." Mike says nothing. Tony leaves. The rest of the night is quiet. Mike has one more drink, dances a little, leaves around 4 a.m., gets in his car and drives home through the empty Manhattan streets. One of his friends brings it up during the drive. "You know, you could have knocked him out. It would have been justified." Mike keeps his eyes on the road. "And then what?" "I get arrested." Headlines: "Tyson attacks bouncer." More lawsuits, more drama, more proof that I'm out of control. All because some guy did his job poorly and didn't recognize me. It's not worth it. His friend considers this. "So you embarrassed him instead." Mike corrects him softly. "I didn't embarrass him. He embarrassed himself. I just showed him the distance between what he thought he could control and what he actually could. That's a gift. Most people never learn that lesson. They go their whole lives thinking they're powerful because no one tested them. He got tested. Now he knows. Whether he learns from it is up to him. But here is what Mike doesn't know yet. Here is what's starting to happen. Even as he's driving home, the story is spreading. People at the club are already texting friends, calling people who weren't there, already describing what they saw. By morning, the story will be in 3 boroughs. By next week, it will be in every nightclub in Manhattan. The bouncer who grabbed Mike Tyson, who tried to throw him out, who got handled in 3 seconds without a single punch being thrown. Some versions will be accurate, some will be exaggerated, but the core will stay true, and that core will teach something important. Derek, the bouncer, goes home that night and can't sleep. He keeps playing those 3 seconds back. The grip on his wrist that felt like a steel trap. The ease with which Mike moved him. The calmness in Mike's eyes. The complete control. Derek had been working security for 6 months. He thought he understood power. He thought size and confidence were enough. Mike taught him otherwise without even trying hard, without breaking a sweat, without raising his voice. Just a 3-second demonstration. 3 seconds that said everything about the gap between thinking you're in control and actually having it. Derek doesn't work security anymore. Within 2 weeks the calls stopped coming. The club managers who used to hire him have moved on. The word got out exactly like he knew it would. The guy who grabbed Tyson. The guy who didn't know better. The guy who thought he had power and learned he had nothing but an illusion. No club wants that guy. That guy is a liability. That guy doesn't understand the fundamental rule of security work. You can control situations without putting your hands on people. And if you do put your hands on people, you'd better be absolutely certain you can handle what comes next. Years pass. The story doesn't die, it evolves. It becomes part of the nightclub culture in New York. Bouncers tell it to the new guys as a cautionary tale. You never know who you're dealing with. You never know what someone is capable of. So you lead with respect. You lead with communication. You use your hands only when there's no other choice, because the second you grab someone, you escalate. And if that someone happens to be Mike Tyson, you learn very fast that you were never in control. You just thought you were. Tony, the floor manager, uses the story in training. He's at a different club now, more high-end, better pay, but he still tells the new security about that night, about Derek, about Mike, about 3 seconds that ended a career and created a legend. His point is always the same. Respect costs nothing. Pride costs everything. Derek's pride cost him his career. Mike's restraint earned him more respect than any knockout ever could. Which man do you want to be? Derek eventually tells the story himself. Not the version where he looks stupid, the version where he learned something. He's working construction now. He has a nephew thinking about security work. He tells him about the night he grabbed Mike Tyson's shoulder, about how he thought he was doing his job, how he thought his size made him powerful, how Mike could have destroyed him but chose to educate him instead. Real power doesn't announce itself, Derek tells his nephew. Real power doesn't need to prove anything. Mike knew he could knock me out. I didn't know he could move me like I weighed nothing, but he knew, and that knowledge gave him all the control he needed. His nephew asks what the lesson was. Derek thinks for a long time. The lesson is that strength without wisdom is just violence waiting to happen. Mike had both. I had neither. I thought my size made me strong. Mike showed me that strength is about control. It's about choosing your response. It's about understanding the difference between what you can do and what you should do. He could have sent me to the hospital. He could have ended my career with a punch instead of a push. But he chose the minimum force necessary to make his point. That's mastery. The Tunnel nightclub closed years ago. The building is something else now. Condos or offices. The city changes. Buildings come and go. But the stories stay. The story of Mike Tyson and the bouncer who didn't know better stays. It's told by people who weren't even there. It's dressed up and exaggerated and turned into legend. But under all the variations, the central truth remains. 3 seconds, 1 lesson. Real power is knowing you don't have to prove it. Mike Tyson never talked about that night publicly. He never confirmed it, never denied it. If you asked him, he'd probably say he doesn't remember. Or he'd smile that knowing smile, the one that says more than words, the smile that says, you think you know but you weren't there. You didn't feel what that bouncer felt. You didn't see what that bouncer saw. You didn't learn what that bouncer learned. But maybe you can learn by hearing about it. Maybe that's enough, because here is the final truth. The truth that makes this story matter. 30 years later, Mike Tyson beat 50 opponents in the boxing ring, knocked out 44 of them, generated hundreds of millions of dollars, became one of the most famous faces on earth. But that night in the club he did something harder than knocking someone out. He showed restraint. He showed control. He showed the difference between destroying a man and educating him. And that 3-second choice, that decision to push instead of punch, to educate instead of punish, might be the most impressive thing Mike Tyson ever did outside of a boxing ring. The bouncer learned his lesson in 3 seconds. The industry learned it in the next 3 weeks. Everyone who hears the story learns it the moment they hear it. Real strength is choosing not to use it when you easily could. Real power is demonstrating control over yourself, not just others. Real mastery is knowing the difference between what your ego wants and what the situation needs. Mike Tyson knew the difference that night, showed it in 3 seconds, and created a lesson that will outlive everyone who was there to witness it. 3 seconds, 1 push, 0 punches, infinite lesson. That's the story. That's the truth. That's what happened the night a bouncer grabbed Mike Tyson's shoulder and learned something he'd carry for the rest of his life. Do you know the lesson yet?